All right, guys, thank you for coming out to another BanklessDAO demo. Today we have Slice, where you can buy and sell anything fully on chain through their platform. You can sell items, you can mint NFTs, split payments, all from your decentralized store, and you can allow buyers to purchase an ETH or any token, any ERC20, I believe. So yeah, today we're going to get into the nitty gritty, find out exactly how to set up a store on Slice, and to see what's going on under the hood and see a live demonstration of everything Slice. So shouts out to Stevie and Techno for joining us today. And yeah, let's get this thing started.
Great. Thank you for having us. Really appreciate the opportunity to demo Slice. So as Jarvis mentioned, Slice is a protocol that allows you to build decentralized stores. And within that store, you can sell any product, physical or digital. There have been a couple of things that Slice has done in terms of being able to collect addresses so that you can ship things. And then we've also been able to, with some on-demand printing APIs, we've been able to connect to an on-demand printing service if you want to sell apparel or merchandise that way. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And hopefully you could see that.
Yep, I see it.
Cool. So I'm on the testnet version of Slice. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through a few steps. We'll call it 3 steps here. Step 1 is going to be creating a store. Step 2 is going to be adding a product to that store. And then step 3 for this personal demo of connecting the product to an on-demand printing service. In this case, it's Printful, which is this site here. So the first thing you do is you can go to testnet, and obviously we're on mainnet as well, and you just go and click create slicer. And so this is going to create your store. And what's cool is that you could split your store up into however many owners that you want. So right now, this store is owned 100% by me. And I'm going to just very quickly, sorry, I didn't copy this Techno. I'm going to click here. I'm going to use Techno's address as well. And I'm going to add him as an owner. I'm going to say that this is going to be broken up into 1,000 slices. So I'm going to get 500 and Techno's going to get 500. Okay. Now, what I mean when I say I'm breaking this up into slices, you could just imagine it's like, stocks, breaking it up into slices of the store. And what's really cool is that I own 500 slices and Techno owns 500 slices. And those are essentially NFTs. They can be traded or given or sold to anybody. So let's imagine a song that's broken up into 1,000 pieces. I could sell 1% of that song or give it to somebody, and that collects the royalties in the future. So we can get back to that, but so this is a slicer that's connected 500 each, 500 to me, 500 to Techno. I'm going to just create the slicer. While this is pending, does anybody have any questions about that at all?
So you mentioned royalties for the slices that you hold, and you can actually sell your ownership as well if you wish to do so.
Yeah, so the store is broken up into however many pieces you want it to be broken up into. And so you could, technically sell, whatever percentage of whatever the store is.
So
to anybody. And go ahead.
I was gonna say, so hypothetically speaking, let's say I own 10% of the store. Then one day in the future, if I wanted to sell that percentage, my percentage of ownership, I can do so.
Yes.
Okay,
And these are all viewable on OpenSea, you know, so they'll be listed on OpenSea. So if I were to go there, it would say that I owned, you know, 500 of these, and then I could just sort of send them to people if I wanted to. So I don't know how testnet is working. I don't know if it's running slow right now, but usually it's a little bit faster here. If it doesn't go in the next couple seconds here, then I'm going to just go to one of my slicers and show you how to add a product. Any other questions?
I was gonna save this question a little later, but might as well ask it now because it's on top of
Yeah.
mind. So so you mentioned how you connect with Printful, and I have experience with using Printful in the past. I don't think you're able to buy merchandise in crypto yet, right? So like, let's say you receive Ethereum from your customer, but then when it comes to actually buying when it comes to actually physically buying the merchandise, what goes on then? Do you have to like send that ETH to another wallet to like cash it out to US dollars and then buy, or maybe
Yeah,
like
yeah. So the way Printful works is that you have to have a credit card on file. And so when a order goes through, you basically fulfill the order here and it charges this amount. Okay. And so the credit card that's on file, which most likely would be like your business account or something like that. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
I'm just going to redo this real quick. I'm not sure why it wasn't working. Kind of as live demos go, something always goes wrong. And so what happens is the ETH that was used to purchase this item, you would have to release that ETH into your wallet and then convert it to USD and then pay your credit card bill, basically.
Okay. All right, so it'll be purchased by the business, not by like a sole individual.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. The individual's buying it off of you, through this platform, but you're
Mhm.
fulfilling the order on the back end of Printful.
Okay, cool. All right, and then you do so with a business credit card. Or
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay, nice. And then the funds initially would go to like a multi-sig.
You could set it to go to any address you want.
Okay.
So your personal wallet, multi-sig, whatever it might be. So I'm gonna move on. I don't know why this is taking so long. But I'm just gonna go to my slicers. So these are all slicers that I've created on testnet, and this is that bankless one. So I'll just click on this juice box one here. Um, and this is the merchandise that is already created on on the store. And if I click on
Okay.
this view on OpenSea, you'll see that 100 slices are owned by me, and those are that's the store basically. So if I want to create a new product, it's very simple, just creating a new product and going through this sort of workflow here. This can be markdown, so I have some stuff already prepared here just to make it fast. So I'm gonna like use markdown for my email so that people can email me if they need to. And then I'm going to add an image, which I've already created, obviously. And so that's my image. Now you can't change these products. You can't change any of this stuff later. And that's all because it's immutable. I mean, you don't want people to say I'm selling a shirt and then they end up selling something else. So in a way, it's a way to protect the user. So then I go to the next availability page. And so I can allow for multiple purchases of one item, or I could just say, look, each wallet could only buy one thing. So for this, I'm just going to say allow multiple purchases, but I'm going to limit the availability of the shirts. So I'm going to say there's only going to be 25 of these. So if one person comes in and buys 25, then they're all gone. All right.
Yeah.
Next is the pricing. I'm going to click on dynamic pricing, and I'm going to click on this ETH USD button, and I'm going to say the shirt's $50. Now, this is going to be a different price because it's on testnet, so obviously the price of testnet ETH is different to US dollars than mainnet,
Right.
but it's $50. And as the price goes up and down because of the dynamic pricing, the amount of ETH that's collected will change, which is really cool. Then I'm on an on-chain action. Okay, so this is where I could mint an NFT along with the purchase of the item. So I purchase the shirt, I get an NFT minted directly to my wallet. I could also token gate it, I can NFT gate it, I can create an allow list, and then I could also send ETH to an address. So for example, if I have a partner, but he doesn't own the part of the store, I could send an amount of ETH to that person. Let's say $1 for every purchase is going to a charity. Let's just say, okay, that's what you would use that for. In this case, I'm going to say mint in NFT. Okay, and so I'm just going to say juicebox refresh JBR, and I upload my NFT to a service called NFT storage. It gives me this CID. I copy it and I put it into a box right here. Okay, now I can add a message to my buyers, so thank you for whatever. And then you could put as much information as you want. I mean, like I like to put like my email address and things of that nature there, just so people can like contact me if they need to. And then there's the second process, and this is redeeming, quote unquote, your item. And so you have to add instructions to how to redeem it. Now, Jacobo, who's the founder of and the main developer of Slice, he's created these custom I don't even know what to call them, but these are the custom short codes that go in here. Now, what I've done is I've just created something so I could just copy and paste. And you can see that one of them was for the Bankless hoodie. And I put that there. So I'm going to just delete this. Okay, now this is what it looks like. So by clicking here, you're going to redeem the item, and I'll show you how that works. This is Slicer ID, which is store ID number 26. The product ID, which it hasn't come up with, but that's this product, the shirt, and how many you've purchased, as well as the buyer's address goes right here. And then some more instructions. Okay. And then if you wanted to add a file, you could do that here. Now, why would I use add files? Imagine you're selling a digital piece, or let's say you're selling like an educational content piece. You could upload those educational content files here that are unlocked upon purchase. So you can kind of get creative into how you would use upload file. I'm not using it. And so I'm pretty much ready to go. So if I click on the product view, this is what the person is going to see when they're buying. Okay, and obviously you can have more detailed instructions. The price is here. How many items have been purchased here? And then redeem purchase, you're previewing this. And this is basically what they're going to see to redeem the item. Okay, email address, my address is the one that's going to buy it. I'm buying one of them, so on and so forth. And I create the product. Okay, so while that's working, and hopefully that goes through, does anybody have any questions about any of that so far?
Yeah, so you mentioned music when you first started this. So like, is that like a route you would like to go with this store? Like, can people be able to sell fractions of their album this way, or a song if they wish to do so? And
Definitely.
then and then can like what they sell, like I understand you could receive an NFT after purchase, but like would the music itself be an NFT?
You could make it an NFT. I mean, you could sell NFTs on here too. It doesn't have to be minted to your wallet. You could just say, I'm going to sell an NFT. I'm going to sell a digital item.
And then you can create the NFT on Slice, or do you have to create it on another platform and then bring it over here? So no.
So that may be a little bit of a technical question for me. The way I've done it is I've just uploaded it to IPFS
Uh,
and used it that way.
okay. Yeah, I was kind of thinking that.
Okay, so the product has been created. Okay, and so I'm going to go back to my slicer, and this is the product right here. Okay, now in order to redeem this item, I have to
To do
exactly.
those. Okay, yeah, I remember using Printful and filling out orders manually. Yeah, that sucked
Yeah,
because the site that I
the
used didn't have it integrated, so yeah, I had to do it all manually.
yeah, so the information would automatically go to Printful. All the shipping information would already be there, and then you just hit the button, fulfill the order. You fulfill the order, and boom, it gets started, and then it's shipped depending on where they are around the world. It gets shipped. If it's in the United States, it's usually like about 4 to 5 days.
Hmm. Nice.
So yeah, I
And
mean, this is one specific use case when you're tying it with Printful, and not everybody's going to do it that way. You could technically, if you have this inventory, you could just ship it out yourself. You know what I mean? So you don't have to use Printful. And if it was like, let's say, I mean, I'm just going to say something. Let's say it's candles, and you're selling candles. You have the inventory in your garage, and you're shipping them out as it comes in. But you want to sell it,
I see
collect the
what you're
duty.
saying. Uh-huh. Oh, this is cool. Okay, so this is really cool to get people into becoming an entrepreneur with a platform like this, because now they can, especially if they're already involved in Web3. Um, yeah, because it's more efficient, I believe, buying and selling things in crypto than in cash. So, especially with the ways that you can earn crypto and make a living in DAOs and things of that nature. So, we have all this crypto on hand. It's pretty cool that you can use your stable coins if you want to and buy items with it. And definitely by setting up your own store and selling it for crypto is pretty cool.
Yeah. So,
And then these juice box products. This is like an actual collaboration.
well, I'm a contributor at Juicebox, and I have been for really since the beginning. So I do apparel. I do some apparel for Juicebox, um, and I also do onboarding and governance work and business development. So yeah, was responsible for
Awesome.
Assange DAO and Moon DAO, and
Mm-hmm.
several others. Those reached about 65-70 million-dollar fundraisers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been working with Juicebox a lot, and Slice actually. The way I found Slice was that they were a project that started on Juicebox, and so I came in and created the governance for Slice, and kind of went from there and have been given a lot of suggestions and things of what people are asking for. I think the biggest challenge is just getting people to associate their wallets with physical goods. That's something that is
Mm-hmm.
an issue for some, not for others, but for some. Um, and with techno coming in and really being an expert in like product presentation and like copy and just like create flow, well that's my impression anyway, is that's what techno is really good at. And he's been able to offer a lot of suggestions about just how to make it more user friendly. And so a lot of the updates that you're seeing in that product create flow, a lot of it is credit to Techno and his suggestions and what he's brought to the table. So just want to make it as easy as humanly possible um, to create a product. The Printful integration is obviously complicated and it's more difficult than just selling a normal, regular product that you hold in inventory.
Yeah. And one question that came to mind right now is, can you filter between the types of items that's on the store? Because I mean, I know like what I see right now is pretty much merch, pretty much like just clothing items. But like you said, some people could sell candles or sell NFTs. I remember one of the very first NFT that I created was a font family, and before getting into NFTs, I was looking for a centralized marketplace, like a regular marketplace to sell it on. This was like before I was into crypto, and they wanted to take hefty commissions out of it, and like 30, we talking like 30-40%. But
Yeah.
I figured I could turn it into an NFT, so I minted it on Rarible. But it'll be interesting because on Rarible there isn't really a font section. Like there really isn't a place where you can filter by the people that sell fonts. Especially at that time, I believe I put the first font family on Rarible, not the very first NFT font, but the first NFT on font on Rarible. But it'd be cool
Yeah.
like
So
do that here if they could, yeah, filter it by
yeah.
category.
So there are filters up here. Now these aren't exactly, they're pretty broad, so like I think this is
Mhm.
like a work in progress. But to your point about selling fonts, you know, what I mentioned before of the adding a file, that's how you would do that. So if you were to create a new product and you went all the way to the notes and files, you would
Mhm.
upload your font here and you would say, I'm selling a font. Here's like the picture and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Here's how many I'm going to sell. So, like, it's a hand drawn font. I'm only offering this to 10 people or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, the pricing, on chain action, and then your like notes, you can gate it here. Like, so only people who hold um, bank token are able to do this, right? So you token gate it and then you add your font here and then they just download it once they purchase it.
Oh, nice. Nice setup.
Yeah, so it's definitely possible. And you could see here like there's a demo on selling tickets, all that kind of stuff. So it's really, I mean, the way we've sort of tried to present this is it's really like a Shopify, um, so yeah.
Then
Any
one
other?
technical question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Um, just because this coming to my mind when it comes to like NFTs and then like the whole like secondary market experience. So like let's say if a shareholder, well in this case a Slice owner, wanted to sell his ownership of the store to someone else on a secondary market. Um, is there a way to get out of that being looked at as the potentiality of being considered a security, or would that be just the like to get access to the utility of the site?
Specifically for what product again?
I mean,
I guess in this case for
um,
any product, just because because they're receiving ownership of the project, right? Like, I mean, that's a really cool feature. Like, I love that feature. But I just wonder, would it fly? Like, not being considered a security? 'Cause I had this idea. I thought of fractionalized NFTs for a while as well, especially for this project. It doesn't exist anymore, but a few like about a year
Well,
ago,
let
we
me
came.
let me let me quickly just answer that. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't really be able to answer that. But I personally don't see the difference between having a ownership partner in a store, like if you and I go 50-50 on a store
Uh-huh.
and we're splitting everything 50-50.
Yeah.
I don't really see how that in itself can be seen as something that's a security. I think if you're like offering, I think the royalty thing is an issue that you have to like figure out and you have to, get some legal advice on. Um,
Uh,
but it's not like there are um, not people who are sharing royalties already. So people have figured that out. I
mhm.
think the best use case for like music or for art in particular for Slice is that you're keeping 80% and maybe you are giving 20% of the entire ownership to your community, like you're basically just saying like this is my gift to for you for that could be one way of doing it. But I mean, it's so broad and there's so many different use cases that I really couldn't even begin to answer, you know, what you can do with it.
Yeah, like you mentioned with music, I love the idea of musicians using this and giving part ownership to their community. I mean, it's a great way for them to get more involved with their fans, and yeah, it's something that never been seen before. It's a great way for the fans to support the artists as well by purchasing their music directly from them, because like many artists sign terrible deals where they only get fractions of the music, like fractions of the sales of their music, and then even with like these streaming services, they're getting like you know a very small amount from their amount of, like, I think with like 1 million streams on Spotify, you only end up earning like around $1,000, something like that. So just interesting to see how NFTs is definitely going to change the game for music.
Yeah, and one other thing that I want to mention, and then obviously, if anybody else has any other questions, um, is that Slice started really as like a splits protocol, and so you know, in the very beginning creation stage, you can put a bunch of different addresses and basically give ownership of that store to anyone. And so it's that slicer itself. Let's say it has 1,000 addresses in it. That slicer itself spits out one address. So in the future, as we figure out, how Spotify pays their musicians their royalty checks, let's say in crypto or in ETH, you could imagine a streaming service saying, okay, and number one, give me the address you want this ETH to go to. And you give them that ETH address. When they send the payment, it gets split up automatically among all the 1,000 people who have a stake in that slicer. So that's like the most basic use case that we have for Slice. And I'm going to share my screen just one more time. Sorry. Um, so let's just say again, if I create the slicer again, I could put 1,000 addresses here, right? And at some point, once I create this slicer,
Mhm.
again, imagine there was 1,000 addresses there. It spits out the address that I put in. So in a case like Juicebox, for example, if one of the payout addresses is that slicer address, every time there's a payout, it's going to get split automatically among everybody that has a stake in that. So, you know, it's kind of endless what you could do and how you can share ownership among everybody. Um, kind of like your own imagination, I guess.
Yeah, no,
I hope that made sense.
I like the efficiency of the slicer as well, because like um, traditionally, like if you ran a business, a Web3 business, and you're getting funds sent to a multi-sig, and then you pretty much have to do the math and figure out, okay, this person getting this much, and you have to
Yeah.
have multiple people sign off on that transaction. But with this, it's just all automatic. You from the beginning, you put how much this person owns, of the store, and this is the amount of revenue that they'll get back. It's all automatic, so you don't have to constantly like have X amount of people sign off on a transaction and wait for that and figure
Yeah.
out the math.
And for those people who like know 0x splits, which is another splits protocol, there are other splits protocols, but this allows you to add new things to that slicer. So if the initial um, if the initial slicer is just divided into 100 people and it's just a way to like split ETH, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, we're going to add this new song and it's going to be a product within the slicer, people start buying that song, it gets split
Mm,
among all those people. So it's like it's more than just one block. You can continually add new blocks to this split, you know. So
mm.
um
And then how
go ahead.
I was gonna say, um, like, can you distribute slices to people that purchase a particular item? or that's only comes out of people that already own slices. Like,
You can send them slices. So like, that was one of the examples I briefly gave earlier, which is like, let's say you sell an NFT on Slice, right? And then as a thank you, you send each one of those people one slice,
uh,
just as a way to say thank you. And then every time you add a new product, they're getting a small percentage of the products that are being sold in that slicer.
yeah, I see it
Yeah,
being really
I think it's a really interesting way of like kind of framing that. It's like if you imagine the actual slicer is essentially kind of like a treasury, right? So then you can essentially send someone a percentage of a treasury, and then they've got a claim on that underlying revenue that that treasury brings in. So like you're kind of selling off like equity almost, but it's really just tokenized in like a digitized medium, which is just like super cool if you think about it, you know? But yeah.
Yeah, I think this pairs very well with reputation NFTs. So like let's say a musician would only like you can only purchase their latest music if you like I guess it's based on the parameters that the musician sets, but like let's say you have to interact with their content a certain amount of times on whatever platform, whether it be socially on Twitter or Lens, and then by your participation within their community that gives you access to actually purchase an item and then receive slices. Like that could be an added incentive for them to engage with their content, and then they'll have that incentive, or they'll have that benefit of being able to hold on to those slices or sell them. Both of them, they have a benefit of holding it or selling it. So that's pretty cool. I'm interested to see how this will pair with reputation NFTs, like as the gating feature.
I would. I have to drop here, and I know that I've been talking for a long time. I have to drop here in about like 5 minutes, but I wanted to encourage anybody else who might have a question to go ahead and ask, but also that if you want like just like a one-on-one like demo and you want me to walk you through like the creation process and sort of go from there, you could reach out to me, you can add me as a friend and all that stuff, and I'd be happy to set up a time where we could just set aside 30 minutes and set something up on testnet. The other really cool feature that I want to just express, and Techno's gotten sort of a sneak preview of this, is the fact that Jacobo, who is the main developer of this, is number one, he's very accessible, but number two, he's open to new features being added and created based off of like specific use cases. And so in a lot of products like this, it's tough to get in touch with the developer, and it's tough for them to like be open-minded sometimes to things. Not all, but some. And so I just wanted to like encourage, like if you were to try it out and see something, you're like, hey, this would be really cool if you added this or that. I think now is the time to be able to do that, because we're still trying to find product market fit. Um, you know, we've had some very serious discussions with investors in the past, and we've just sort of said, listen, we got to find like a really strong niche for what we're doing, and then go from there. But you could, for those of you who are here on the demo, I think you could see what the potential is of this for sure.
Yeah, that's a really good point Stevie makes, and I think a particularly interesting thing to think about is like if you are selling a physical product, so you've got like a brick and mortar business or something, you've got an online presence in Web2, and you've got a shop, and say for instance you're trying to connect your marketplace to Web3, is there an API like similar to Printful which you'd like to see being incorporated like into Slice, and then we can kind of go away and check the feasibility with Jacobo and see what the spec is from a technical standpoint. Because, sky's the limit, like Stevie said, you can really sell anything on here. So it's creating that bridge between existing Web2 platforms and the IRLs, the delivery aspect side of things, when it comes to the digital, or purely just like on the digital side of things. And it's really sort of open to your imagination.
Yeah, definitely. Another question that came to mind since you brought Printful up. What if you wanted to use another print-on-demand service, but this time like through Alibaba? I had some experience with using Alibaba for creating some custom items that I couldn't produce on Printful. Would there be a way to connect to whatever drop shipper that I'm using through Printful? I would assume. I mean,
I
not
think
Alibaba.
I think that's an API thing, and if those
Yeah,
APIs are available, then yeah, the answer is yes.
oh, that'd
Um,
be sweet.
yeah, I mean, I think this is my point of like basically, you could now is the time to talk to Jacobo and see if he can make it happen. I mean,
Yeah.
now would be the time because if you may not be the only one who wants that to happen. I'm actually going to drop the link to the Slice Discord. That's okay in the
Nice.
chat. Um, and feel free to like jump in there and tag myself or Techno or add me as a friend, like I said. And then we can start going from there and seeing what we can come up with.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool actually. We were kind of talking about this briefly the other day, so Stevie and I, it's like maybe even doing a feedback form with BanklessDAO members, maybe using Spect or something, and we'll kind of create a questionnaire of potential. We can put some ideas, suggestions forward of things people might like to see, but then also leaving a feedback area where people can put forward their own ideas as well, and just using the soundboard with the dev team and see what we can kind of sort of help anyone with.
Yeah, it sounds good. Definitely would like to hop on some future calls with you guys. There's some ideas that I have for sure, like things that I would like to sell in crypto. So yeah, I would love to keep the conversation going.
I saw that, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but I saw that Toph was typing something in. I don't know if they have a question or a comment. I don't know if people could speak on here or not, but
Yeah, if anyone has a question in the audience, we could bring them up here on the stage.
Yeah, I believe I was chatting to Toph so the last few days. I believe you're looking to sell some merch for your DAO, essentially. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions. And if Stevie's going to drop off, I can try and answer. If Stevie can stick around as well, then great. But yeah, happy to answer any questions.
unfortunately, I mean, not unfortunately, but I got to pick up my kid from kindergarten in a couple minutes, so can't be late.
That's a decent excuse, man. You're forgiven.
Yeah. So, I mean, I again, I want to, well, first of all, thank Techno for just getting me involved in all of this, and Jaris for setting it up and making this all happen. So, thank you everybody for listening to me rant. Toph is raising his hand. I'd like to answer their question if we could let them up on the stage.
Yeah, I sent them an invite to speak, but I guess you have to accept it, and then you'll be on the stage. But yeah, thank you for joining and for sharing all this information about Slice. Definitely piqued my interest. Definitely want to keep the conversation going.
Yeah, and like most demos, I apologize. Okay, so I can't speak at the moment, but I'm not quite clear on how to integrate Printful API with Slice. So the API with Printful is already connected. So you just have to create your Printful account and then start your store on Slice. And then you then need to create a form. So really quickly here.
And then what would a URL look like on Slice? Would it be like whatever the name of your site is, .slice.so? Or
Yeah, yeah, it's
okay.
actually slice.so slash and then your
Okay.
yeah. So
Oh. And then you don't even have to pay to create a website, essentially.
nope,
Oh,
nope.
nice.
So let's say this redeem. Oh, I'm gonna go back to mainnet here. Let's say
That was a big pain point right there.
Actually, I don't know if this is going to work on here because I don't have. So all you're really doing is you're setting up this form. Okay, so it's working on mainnet. It's not working on a testnet. So once you set up the form, it already connects to your Printful store. You just connect it right here, and then what you do is you could see all of the items in my store that have already been created on Printful. So you could see like stores and then view store. And so these are like all the items that are in my store. And so all you're doing is you're connecting this product from Slice to the item you want to sell in your Printful store. It's just super simple. Did that answer your question, Toph? So yeah, I mean that part of it is really easy. Just connect to Printful and then go from there. And then there's some other, on-demand printing services that you could connect, and I'm sure Jacobo would be able to help connect those APIs.
Very nice. Yeah, it's cool to see. I mean, Printful is pretty good, but you're somewhat limited, so it'd be nice to be able to connect via API to even more dropshippers, especially because there are a ton of them on Alibaba and other sources. Well,
There's another question here. The Polygon release. There's not currently one on the roadmap, but it's something that a lot of us have been talking about for a while. So yeah, I mean, nothing current. I think a bigger thing for Slice right now is to get accepting any ERC20 token on mainnet, and then sort of going from there. That way people can create their own, for lack of a better term, their own creator economy. And so like now you're purchasing the musician's shirt with the musician's token, and you can only get the token by doing this or that. So yeah, I mean, like, one way, and this is the last thing I'll say before I go, one way that I look at it is if I was a creator, I have a juice box and people donate to the juice box to get the Steve token, the Stevie G token, then they can use the Stevie G token to purchase incentives or community building things like shirts or records or whatever. And so now I have a transparent treasury on Juicebox, and then I'm using Slice as the way to sell the items to my community. So the workflow is, I mean, it's there. And I mean, again, it's probably more complicated than just like a live demo like this, but like, please reach out to myself or Techno and we'll walk you through some of that workflow.
Yeah, 100%. And it's going to be a very exciting future when social tokens come into it, as the incentives programs, obviously a creator can build around their token and then to utilize within the Slice ecosystem to incentivize their fans and their audience will be pretty incredible. I think it'll be a big value add.
For sure. Well, I'm going to drop off. Thank you again, everybody. And I will talk to everybody soon, hopefully. Peace.
All right, thank you. See you, Stevie.
Cheers, Stevie.
All right, guys, and we